Welcome. Firstly, I wanted to update you guys on my writing progress. I have done a lot of work this month on Project Rings, and I am at the 99 point something percent mark with it. So first draft is almost done. My editor has started chipping away at the editing for that, so very pumped for that. Can't wait to get that done, knocked off, and jumping into the second novella. The second one, I've got such a clear vision and a plan for what I want it to be. At the moment, I don't even have a project name for it yet, so stay tuned next month for that, as I will be writing the first draft of that one, actually starting that while I do the editing for the submission date end of June for Project Ring. So I know a lot going on, a bit of confusion, but as I want to do for this year, I actually need to stop one, revise, and jump into the next one sort of all together, all at once. Then on to the topic of this video, AI books and AI narration. It's been a hot topic for, let's say, almost since I've started releasing books or creating novels. Now, the reason this topic is very interesting to me is a couple of reasons. Is number one, I'm obviously an author, so publishing your book with Audible and or getting it to an audiobook form is of interest to me. Secondly, I'm actually working in the technology space. So it's from a technology side and seeing how things are advancing and AI and things like that just in my work, seeing how that's carrying across to this space is quite fascinating to me. So today I wanted to discuss, I guess, the pros and cons of this. The current situation as it stands. On the 13th of May 2025, Audible announced that they are launching into a beta program for AI audiobook narration. If you are an author, or you are someone who has been listening to books, or you're tracking author and you're part of the author space, or the author/book talk sphere, you'll know that that is a very contentious topic, right? I might as well be talking about a conflict, global conflict. On one camp, you have people who are pushing for innovation, clearer voices, quicker release times, things like that. On the other end, you'll have people who are a bit more traditionalist in their views. They're saying you're taking away jobs from talented people, with the royalty rates being what they are already. Now they're going to be gone for those people. Some people will be completely out of jobs. You have some wonderfully talented people who will now need to pivot or, I guess, become extinct. This is a typewriter to computer scenario, in my view, for a lot of those people. I will link you down below to that article, but the essence of it is Audible is launching into the beta reading program where they will be allowing authors like myself, for instance, or anyone who's keen for that program when it releases later on in the year, to be able to use their custom set of tools to do one of two things. You can give it to them and they can produce the book themselves end to end. You give them the book, they will then produce it themselves using their tools, or you will have access to their tools, and then from there, if it meets the requirements, you'll be able to publish it on to Audible. Now, that out the way, is this a good thing? Let's make the argument for it being good. For someone like myself, who this is definitely not my full-time job. I have a full-time job in a tech career, which I use to support my family and they do that day to day. This has been a wonderful thing to do, writing novels and learning about the industry and things like that. However, anyone who's self-published before knows that basically wins or losses, everything sits with you. So that means everything from financing books, getting editors, working with editors, getting through their rates, doing all of that stuff, it all sits with you. If, for instance, I wanted to publish my book on Audible right now, it means I will probably have to pay, and again, very broadly, around about, let's say, 3,000 to 5,000 New Zealand dollars. But that's a lot of money for a lot of people, including myself. And again, it's not that this is a full-time thing yet, so I can't justify the costs of that. What AI is doing at this stage with things like 11 Labs, which I actually have for all of my short stories on this channel for free. This is an avenue for someone like myself or other indie publishers in this space to literally click a few buttons and have their books that they've grafted and worked very, very hard on put into Audible form / audiobook form. Putting it out to Audible with the quality that you believe is adequate for people to actually find and enjoy your book is a tricky thing. So Audible has the monopoly there, and they make use of it. So I think this brings a lot of speed, a lot of quick releases for authors, for indie authors. So there is an opportunity there, which brings me to the second point. Let's make the argument for it being bad. And the things that come to mind immediately, like I mentioned before, is people are losing their jobs because of this. Now, someone who used to be able to produce a couple of really high quality books, they've made a name for themselves, they've dedicated their career to, producing high quality audiobooks with some awesome authors, now has to potentially look for a different job. I don't believe leaving anyone without a job is a good path forward in that regard. So it definitely has some real warning signs, and I don't think that's great when it comes to stuff like that. So you are definitely looking to, in the immediate term, take away jobs probably from people. And I would make the argument that it's the path to least resistance for a lot of indie authors. So I can definitely see a very, very quick, broad adoption of this. To add to this, which is actually the real point I'm trying to make, is I don't think it should be an author versus, let's say, voice actor sort of debate. We should be looking at who's hosting this platform and what goes on behind the scenes. Brandon Sanderson, who I follow almost purely from an author standpoint, has been such an inspiration in this space. And he managed to negotiate some favorable terms with Audible. He wasn't going to release some of his books last year on there because of their predatory terms. And I think that is the real thing we need to look out for here. If I was to publish with Audible exclusively, like I mentioned before, I do the production, pay the $3,000 to $5,000, use a voice actor, and then I start earning money, I'll be making 40% of royalties on that platform, right? I want you to think about that. I've fronted all the money, I've done all the hard work up front. Only then will I start earning 40%. That's if I'm exclusive. If I'm non-exclusive, I believe it's down to 25%. Do with that information what you want, but in my opinion, that is very, very predatory. So I think the focus needs to shift from, irrespective of where you sit in the audiobook debate, I think we need to shift the focus to the platform hosting this. My final thoughts on this is, it's like everything. I think if you get into the nitty gritty, on the surface it looks very black and white, right? It's not right to take away jobs and things like that, and I agree with that, but I think it will potentially in the future create more jobs. I'm not sure how that looks yet, but it also does provide a low barrier to entry for authors currently. But as I mentioned, it's just not a sustainable way for authors to make money unless you have a really big platform or audience and things like that. So that's why I think Audible, in my opinion, is to blame for this. And it's really something we need to address. And I think they need to work on what they believe is fair, because at the moment it doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and I can see why. The way I've been tackling this is I have my books with AI narration on the YouTube channel. But the books are free, so you might have to suffer through some ads in the future if, when I get monetized, but the books are free. And I think that for me, I sleep well at night knowing that I haven't taken away from anyone. I've provided my book/entertainment, my creative work for free. Look out for the final novella in the Galaxis Chronicle series this month. I'm very, very excited. I think that's my favorite one as well. If you know the character, you'll immediately recognize who this is about and some of their previous life. So excited to drop that one as well on the 15th. So look out for that. I will see you in next month's update. Peace.